Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. And wait, is this a non-pre-recorded episode? That's right, dear darling is back from her holiday. It's also insanely hot right now in the UK. I have a fan going, and I think you could probably have heard that in the background. So, yeah, so I've turned it off a moment. I don't know, actually. Let me put it back on. Hold on. Let me look up the mic. It doesn't seem like it picks it up naturally, but I'm pretty sure it will pick it up when I speak, so I don't really want that. So, good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:05 p.m. on Monday, May 25th, 2026. So yeah, I'm back on my holiday. This means, of course, I have conversational fuel for the entire, next half a year or something. And yeah, so where did I go on holiday? I basically went to Japan for, not the entire month, but for a pretty long time, to be honest, from near the start of the month to, well, yesterday, essentially. And I came back around sort of like afternoon, evening-ish time, yesterday. Am I done finishing unpacking everything? I've done unpacking all of my previous belongings. I've yet to put away all of the new things I've essentially bought, in Japan. I guess I'll talk about the holiday in general as a whole, right now. Oh yeah, hello Robin. Because it was a great time, and then I'll go day by day with like new experiences and stuff. But yeah, long story short, went to Japan. I've been to Japan before, twice before actually. Once around after university with a friend of mine, and then once with my family. I can't remember how many years ago that one was, to be honest. Maybe like 5 years ago or something. My first time was like 10 years ago, so this was my third time in Japan, but I went this time mostly with a lot of my friends, and this was a lot of my friends, I think all of my friends, I think about it, first time in Japan. I wonder if maybe even like first time in Asia. I don't know. I didn't really clarify that with them, to be honest. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, and I spoke a little bit about it before, like leading up to the thing. That my perspective, I suppose, on a holiday, coming into it would be like, yeah, I'm not that interested in doing the touristy things as much, but it is still kind of interesting to do with friends. The thing I was most excited about was shopping, and unsurprisingly, yeah, that ended up being the thing I was most excited about. But also, I would say on a general whole, that my friends ended up doing or wanting to do a lot of experiences which I have not done before in Japan, and wouldn't usually necessarily think or decide to do. I think the main one definitely being workshops. Those, like, I ended up doing like 3-ish sort of like crafty like workshop things, which I enjoyed all of them. I think they're all good. I think a couple which I was like, whoa, this was like really cool. But yeah, like, I mean, it's a sort of thing which is like, I don't mind doing like workshops and that sort of thing, but it wouldn't usually be my first thought when I'm on holiday or anything like that. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean this in my own sort of, I didn't really think about it sort of before, but you know, I can certainly say with reflection that doing things which are, you know, craft workshops, especially when they are related to the country you are visiting, more specifically like a traditional art form, I thought that was actually very, very cool. Would I do that all the time? No, and I definitely know I'm not the type of person who wants to do a workshop all the time. As like the main activities and that sort of thing. I still prefer like going around looking and perusing, shopping and that sort of thing. But you know, I think it was also really fun. I mean, we were there for quite a while. Like, I was there for what, 2.5 weeks ish or something. Yeah, basically. So unsurprisingly, like, it's a nice way to sort of break things up. And yeah, it was a great time just basically being with my friends, essentially, just sort of hanging out. There were a lot of us, so there were 7 of us, which eventually went down to 6, which eventually has now gone down to 3. Because there's some, I think it works for you. There are some friends who are still there in Japan as of this moment, having a grand old time on their own ventures. But yeah, so there are a lot of like different activities. Like there were actually very few times I think we went out as a group of 7 to do anything. I think most of the time we split up into like 2 different groups to do things. So like, but multiple activities. But as I say, basically 3 of my friends, I should say, I guess all my friends are pretty excited to do things, but 3 of my friends were very excited and organised a huge like itinerary and everything. Like they did like tons of research into like where they should go, accommodation, travel plans, etc, 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 etc. You might be like, dear darling, why didn't you lend a hand in any of that? I will say I did offer, but of course I respect the fact that I was not nearly as active a participant in the organisation as either of these friends were. So I'm not going to try and do bonsai trees. That's probably lily or fauna. I'm not going to like try and claim stolen valor or anything. I'm being like, oh yeah, you know, I could have, but I didn't. They didn't ask me to. That you know, I'm also like, I could have been a more active participant, but at the same time, like by the time I got around to being like, okay, you know, let me contribute my bit, I looked at what they had and I was like, you don't need my help. You straight up have everything essentially. Wendy, yes, that's it. Or like everything I was going to suggest was like they already know about, because all the things I've done have been like the pretty touristy things, to be honest, already. I know Japan like somewhat well, but I didn't. Well, okay, somewhat well as a tourist, mind you. At my friends, but it's not like I know it that well. And also, I think a lot of the things that they want to do, I didn't necessarily have like great contributions on. Like for example, workshops. Like they want to do a lot of like these sort of like workshopy sort of things, and I was basically like, I have no idea because I've never done them before in Japan. So I don't know necessarily which ones are fun, which ones are good, or which ones we should go to certain places to do. But yeah, like I was basically just sort of saying like, yeah, I can share my piece of like these other tourist things which I think are worth it, and these sort of things that I think aren't all that worth it. But it's Apollo's? Really? Wow, okay. Don't judge a book by its cover. But it was very much a sort of thing where it's like, you know, just let them get on, get on with it. If they need my help, they can definitely ask for it at the same time. And I think it's very clear they didn't need my help. I think the closest really came to needing my help would be like if they needed someone to sort of read Japanese, and that was more something which happened like on the scene. And even I'm not fluent in Japanese. I can hold a conversation, certainly, and a lot of my Chinese knowledge helps me read Japanese kanji, which I don't know, but it's not like I'm fluent. And so like I could have I could have, and there were a couple of times I needed to have like harder conversations in Japanese, but it was nothing like all that crazy, nor was it like that ridiculous. Like there was one conversation I had to have about talking to like the train attendant basically letting us go because we ended up not being able to book like one of the high-speed like train tickets essentially. I'm trying to think about it. Like I think it was a lot of like random restaurant talks like I had here and there, but I'm gonna be honest, I think my friends would have been totally fine. Like I didn't need to necessarily be that. Like it made it smoother certainly, like that. But it's not like my Japanese knowledge was so good that it elevated everything. It just made things, some things certainly a lot easier. And I would say a lot of my friends, despite the fact that they've only learned like very basic like sort of levels of Japanese, were like very, you know, forward with being like, I'm going to try and like speak in Japanese, or like look up how to do this. Or they'd be like, hey dear darling, like how would you say something along this lines? And I said probably something like this, and then they would put it to practice. And I thought that was great, honestly. Like I absolutely admire that. I often say like traveling, like it would be so good to be omnilingual, just so you could just flawlessly talk with locals and not even have to worry about that or anything. And while I do like learning languages, I wouldn't say it's like a huge, like massive spurning interest of mine. Japanese again was something I learned because I was like, okay, I know Chinese, let's learn Japanese because it's got a decent amount of overlap with kanji. Yes, so yeah, and I'm trying to think of like other things. So yeah, but I think I also like odds and pieces where I was like when we're at a place being like, yeah, this is like how XYZ things work. But like again, I would say my friends did like an incredible job of research, and the holiday was a fantastic experience, obviously because of the work that they put in, to be honest. I'm not going to I don't want to claim any like false value or that sort of thing. So I honestly had a pretty, nice time on holidays, being like, don't need to plan anything, everything's basically sorted. Anything I could contribute would basically, in my opinion, be too many cooks on fire, It's the sort of thing. Not to say that I couldn't have helped organise or anything, or I could have taken a more proactive approach, but I think there's something to be said about the fact that they had so much passion for the entire thing, that wanting to do it in the first place probably helped motivate them a lot to do things. That's my guess. I don't know. Their mileage may vary. They may come on here and be like, dear darling, how dare you say XYZ thing, and I'd be like, fair enough. But yeah, I had a great time, to be honest. It was generally a really, really fantastic time. My only sort of reflection is I definitely way overpacked for it. I came in with one suitcase, being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring one suitcase, I'm gonna buy a suitcase and bring the rest of my merch back. I way overpacked. I did manage to do what I wanted to do, which was have a different outfit every single day. But because my plan was basically to bring some outfits and then buy some clothes there and use those as the outfits, and I did do that. But at the same time, I was like, in reflection, didn't need to bring as many clothes, because there were a couple of clothes and outfits I didn't even wear in the end. And that was just like a miscounting on my part. I clearly did not realise. Also, the weather was way, way, way warmer than it had been like the previous weeks. So I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else I was going to say. It was a great time, to be honest. It was great to see my friends' enthusiasm for travel and having a good time there. Lots of great highlights. Oh yeah, and like the packing thing, the thing that made it most annoying about packing was I packed way too much, that even on the way back I managed to fit everything in my suitcases and bags, which is crazy, but one of my suitcases was 4 kilograms over the weight limit. 4 kilograms. That's insane. So fortunately I had a friend who I was also travelling back with, and she had 2 suitcases as well. She also bought another suitcase to transfer all her merch in and stuff, who had a very, very, very light suitcase. And basically I just transferred like half of my stuff with her stuff to sort of balance out. So I think I ended up putting like 10 kilograms or something into her suitcase. No, that can't be right. So I was just under, so it would have been like 5 kilograms out or something for my suitcase. But yeah, I bought a lot of stuff. I took a photo of everything afterwards. It's an insane amount. I haven't even finished unpacking it. Like most of the stuff I've done, unpacking like the perishables and the things, but all the stuff I have left are like the merch and like the plushie merch, and I'm not really sure what to do with this. I don't really have enough space yet to sort of display it anymore. Like I have a bookshelf full of plushies and it's already piled up like as if it had 2 more shelves high than it actually is. I basically need like a floor to ceiling one, or like one of those hammocks or something with plushies. But it's okay, I will figure that out and figure out places to put these things eventually. Like it's not like a rush or anything. But yeah, it very much is an insane haul, and I will say I bought an insane amount of Animal Crossing stuff, because the first time I went to Japan, I went to the Nintendo store, New Horizons hadn't come out yet, so there was basically no Animal Crossing merch. I think it was at Isabel maybe, or maybe at Plush. I don't know if I have an Animal Crossing plush or not, but there's basically nothing, and that made me very sad. Second time I went back, I don't know why, because Animal Crossing, New Horizons must have, or maybe it didn't come out by that point. Maybe it was released back the next year, I can't remember. Either way, I didn't get any Animal Crossing merch. This time, lots of Animal Crossing merch, because obviously New Horizons was viral here and extremely big in Japan as well. I bought an embarrassing amount of merch from that, which I will talk about when we get to that day. Like, genuinely, like, I said this to a friend, I was like, I didn't feel embarrassed at all, like, during this trip, but like, I like to think I have a decent amount of self-confidence. Like, even when I like messed up Japanese or flubbed something or misunderstood something, I was like, okay, embarrassing for a moment and moved on. This is one I truly felt like embarrassed for a prolonged period for. When I bought things and like 40 different objects or something, and they counted them out individually, and them speaking in Japanese, sort of laughing at No, in a sort of like amusing way, being like, look how much this tourist bought. They thought I didn't understand them. I understood them. I didn't say anything because I was like, yeah, you're right. Look how much this random tourist bought. I genuinely felt embarrassed because I spent like 20 minutes at the checkout counter being like, okay, this is a lot. But also I was like heck, I'm not leaving this store without almost every single Animal Crossing merch I could possibly buy. In retrospect, maybe I should have done it over 2 days or something, but whatever. I thoroughly impressed my own packing skills, the fact that I managed to actually pack all of this into my 2 suitcases, mind you. Actually, no, that's not technically true, but there was one thing which I didn't, which was the coat. But it was also like, I could have just worn the coat, but I didn't want to wear a coat because it's huge and bulky. But yeah, it was a great time. Like, we had a nice mix of doing things which are like big sort of sites again. There weren't actually even that many sites which I like redid and didn't want to see, but like didn't gain much from seeing again, I think. Because a lot of them, like the ones which I wanted to see again, were like the Disneyland and the shopping districts, which I always find fun. But I think basically everything else was kind of like pretty much a new thing. I'm trying to think what I did which would have been the same, and thus didn't get too much from. I think it's only very, very small things, like I made a sky tree I already went to, and I was like, okay, it's about the same as I remember. My back was completely different. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a lot of very different things, to be honest. And yeah, I had a great time. Another big discovery on the trip. I'm fully lactose intolerant now, as I guess I'll start talking about it tomorrow about the trip there, where I had the lactose meals. They gave you ice cream, like through Cafe Pacific. They give you ice cream meals, which is very nice. Had a wicked stomachache, and I was like, I already knew I was kind of lactose intolerant, but I had 2 pieces of lactase already, and it already caused this. So I'm way back, I had lactose free meal. So yeah, I'm now like, it's gotten to a point where even with lactase, it doesn't help enough for milk and cheese to be worth it. You know, milk, nice, but fine. There are many good lactose-free alternatives. Cheese, I think I had my mind opened, to be fair, when I went to visit my vegan friends, and I had a vegan pizza, and there was vegan cheese on it, and I was like, genuinely, if you didn't tell me it was vegan cheese, I would have just been like, this is just like a brand of cheese I've never had before or something. But yeah, I'll hit up all the good stuff, Disney stuff, hit up a lot of new stuff which I wanted to try on previous trips but never did, like staying at the Ryokan. Onsen I had done on a previous trip, actually, to be fair. So I saw sumo and kabuki. Sumo, pretty fun, even though it was a very sort of light introductory sort of comedic sumo performance rather than actual one. And kabuki, weirdly, very surprisingly, despite it being a theatrical performance, I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I was coming with someone from me who I love theatre performances. You know, both plays, musicals, operas, all great. Kabuki, I don't know. I couldn't get into this one particularly. Also, it's very embarrassing to say, I did fall asleep during it. Something about the fact it was like it was a really dark room. I can't remember why we were so tired, but we were really tired for some reason. And yeah. But I'm willing to give it another shot, I think. Oh yeah, Firefly Garden, that was a great one. Multiple reasons, but you know, some ended up being not personal, but personal for my friends. So maybe I went. I don't know if that's reasonable to discuss or not. A matcha tour, that was a really cool thing. Workshops, as I said, very cool. And yeah, just seeing a lot of it. It's very nice, actually. I think an unspoken, underrated thing about the itinerary being organised not by me is the fact that the things which were chosen as activities were things which I probably wouldn't have chosen. You know, would I have chosen to do a matcha tour? No. Did I enjoy the matcha tour? Yes, it was cool. Same, I already said my piece about workshops. Like, things which I wouldn't even necessarily consider done. And there were also a mix of things which I wanted to do but then didn't get a chance to, like Nico, I think, was a big one. which was like, I wanted to do a day trip there, but then the first time we went, it was like way too exhausted on the day we were actually going to do it, so we just kept it simple. And it was pretty cool. I don't know what else. Did manage to go to both Disneys. But yeah, I'll talk about, I don't know, I guess I'll just talk about all of this stuff more in the future. And so, look, you can look forward to all future episodes, where I basically just talk about the Japan trip for a long time. So, for the first time in a while, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Wait, what do I say after that? I hope we can see each other again, but for now it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now. I thought there was another line in there for some reason.